Hey guys, it's good to see you. Welcome to Spiritual Journey. So, today we're going to talk about the upcoming full moon that's set to arrive on June 29th at 8 degrees of Capricorn at 5:56 p.m. Mountain Standard Time and Central Standard Time, and parts of British Columbia as well. But on the extreme west coast, it's 4:56 p.m. And as we head east at the farthest point, it's 7:56 p.m. that the full moon is going to rise and have full clarity to it. All full moons are about a culmination or a peak of energy. And full moons also are very bright and they put a spotlight on whatever it is or whatever energy or space that it's holding, which in this case is Capricorn. Not only that, it brings a point of awareness. And like some people believe that this point of the full moon or the peak of the full moon is a time of shedding and a time of letting go. And I don't believe that. I believe that full moons are the peak time of awareness, perhaps of something that needs to change. But sometimes in the larger cycles, a full moon can mean the peak of whatever it is that you had wanted to accomplish. And therefore, you don't want it to end. You want to stay in that moment of clarity that we made it. So, this full moon is very serious just by the nature of Capricorn. And there's a lot going on here at the end of June as we head into July. There's many planets that are on the move. And so when planets are on the move, it gives us this energy of transitioning and moving in to a different energy. And so some of the planets that are on the move, of course, are Mars is going to move into Gemini on the 28th, and it's heading towards Uranus. Now, the impact of that and the energy as these two planets begin to apply together have already been seen with the numerous activity with seismic activity, earthquakes in Venezuela and tremors and other earthquakes in Japan. So it's already having a significant impact on us and on the earth. And so, as I speak about this, like many people in Venezuela, of course, have a life altering change of course. Mars in Gemini is usually about the activity of negotiation, the activity of gossip, the activity of information and where is it flowing? What's it doing? And what is the impact that is occurring? And we all know that our words have significant impact. What we say to other people is really important in how we're communicating. If you're hostile, you're going to initiate hostility from other people. Mars is very aggressive, so we can find aggressive hostility or communications surfacing, arguments, disagreements. And they can come out of the blue with as Jupiter heads towards its new cycle with Uranus. And that may change the conversation, but it can certainly ignite it. We need to be conscious of how we're engaging with people and what response are we initiating, or what response are we getting? And people can only take so much of certain rhetoric or certain demands, because Gemini's can be demanding. It can be frustrating because it can put people down rabbit holes. And oh, let's do this. Now we're talking about this. Now we're going to do this. So it's hard to keep up, and it can become really fragmented. So just be aware of that. Chiron, of course, is also on the move and has just stepped into the sign of Taurus. And that can lead us to concerns about the earth herself and agricultural difficulties, or the healing of the earth, farming practices and how we're practicing our stewardship to the land, and how we're treating the land itself, because the land has its own energy. Of course, Taurus is also about financial security, financial needs, and the challenges that come with that, and the system we have in place here that could definitely alter or change somebody's opportunity to make the same income or security base as other people do. Now, Chiron is moving to square Pluto, so that could definitely lead to some disruptions in some financial markets, and the awareness of financial security for food, as we're already exhibiting here in Canada with the increase of food banks, and the disparity of financial income compares to the cost of living. So that can be hugely impactful. Right at the end of the month, again, we have Mercury is going to station retrograde around this time exactly. I believe in this chart, Mercury is stationary, and Mercury is ruling Gemini and that Mars conjunction, and it's in the sign of Cancer. So that also is the land as well, the family properties, and it's impactful for Canada or any Cancer country, the United States of America as well. So we can really see some going over information that is related to your property, your home, the value of your home, and how that is connected to you. Mercury is going to do a review here. So it was just announced we're going to renovate 24 Sussex, which is the home of the Prime Minister, or used to be the home of the Prime Minister of Canada. And so there's going to be a review into that. Is it worth it? How much does it cost? Do we want to do that? Property values are going to be very significant, or property issues. If you're having a dispute over properties or boundaries, that can also be going over, or family disputes for that matter. Sudden changes, sudden moves. You need to be cautious about a Mercury retrograde in Cancer. If you're looking to purchase property, sell property, make sure that you know all the details in the contracts, so you don't get caught up in something, especially as Mercury rules both Virgo and that Gemini energy. So by the time we hit here in Canada on the 29th, Mars will already be in Gemini, Mercury is stationing, and Jupiter is at the 29th degree and ready to pop into Cancer. So this energy here, wrapped up in this full moon, is pretty significant because Mars is also applying for its opposition to Pluto, and it will square Chiron. So that's kind of creates a wound, and creates an imbalance, or creates this sense of insufficiency, especially because Pluto rules all of those things like the big wealth monsters out there. I call them monsters. And the banking system is also under this full moon. So we kind of really have to watch for some of the energy that is funneling into the summer, into July. So this is really going to spur on a lot of activities as Jupiter heads in. And then the nodes are also heading towards Leo. So this is a pretty dynamic energy that is about to take off and could really initiate that fire horse energy that is in play in the Chinese astrology charts. So this full moon is about Capricorn. And what is Capricorn about? Capricorn is about working hard. It's about achievements and rising to the top. It's about responsibility and limiting ourselves. No, we can't go out and have fun as Jupiter would like us to do here in Leo. We need to toe the line. We need to stay at home and get our work done. It's about surpassing something. It's about leadership. So leadership here is going to be front and center, especially in those countries in North America, like Cancer and like Canada and the United States. And we're really going to hear some announcements, most likely, because Mercury is going to join up with Jupiter and has already done so earlier in June. So this is about the government. It's about corporate. It's about stability, security, and it's about infrastructure. What is our base? How stable is our baseline? And it's also about the banking system in some respects. Capricorn needs to be respected because it is the house of power. So quite often, though it is the top of the chart, and quite often those people in positions of power can take advantage of the power they hold in those positions. And is it correct or not is, I guess, whether you're in those situations or not. So there's a lot of pressure here with this moon because the moon doesn't like Capricorn. And the moon represents the public. So we could really see some resistance from the population against those larger companies, or even your boss, or somebody in a position of power that is trying to wield that power against the people. So this is really polarizing to some extent because the moon is ruling the sun here. And that's what is a democracy. The people rule the government, actually, not the other way around. But what happens in positions of power is simply that I hold lord over you because you are lesser than myself. So, but this time you're going to see a lot of energy swing the other direction as people who maybe don't have the finances to buy the food that they need or to buy the home they need for security, or the needs, just the simple needs of everyday life that they can't afford. And who has it? Who's got it? Who is in control of this energy? Saturn. Saturn's in control of this energy. Saturn is newly in the sign of Aries, which is a really strong placement for sovereignty. This is my parcel, or this is my position as an individual. So Saturn isn't very, it doesn't necessarily like the confines of Aries, because Aries is fast and quick. And Mars rules it. So Mars is playing a major role here, which is the planet of action, of war, of the military. You want to fight? Let's fight. But this most likely is going to be more a war of words than anything else, and maybe a debate over that, and a review of what existed in the past and how we're going to move into the future. So the popularity and the people are very indicated here that the population is really suffering some sort of hardship. And limitations and being overly controlled. There's too much pressure being applied, and too much of the burden is being placed on the people. And the institutions, or the old structure, the old way of doing things. And so this system doesn't have as much authority as it used to, because Pluto is now in the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is the sign of humanity. So we have these rules and regulations that have really come to bear down on us over the course of the last like 8 years or so, a bit longer than that. So we could really find some difficulty here, because Mercury and Jupiter, that are kind of really close and connected, are square to Eris, and Eris is right close to Chiron. And we need to think about who is being excluded, who isn't being included in all of the things that we believe are a civil right or a sovereign right to have, like housing or security or the right to speak. Even do they have the right to express their opinions? And there's a need here to break this cycle. There's a need to create chaos, because we all know that Eris was excluded from the party. She took revenge in a way that really got other people up in an uproar, and she wanted other people to feel what it was like to be excluded. So there's a breaking force here in action, just because Mars is heading towards Uranus, and it's very close at this peak energy, which all creates the energy to move, like the ocean's tides are higher at a full moon. So Jupiter is squaring also to Chiron, and this is a push to say there is something wrong. There is something that is not working in the correct fashion in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. And Venus, of course, is in Leo at 19 degrees. And so who has the opportunity? Who has the correct connections? If you're somebody, I suppose you have the right connections. But if you don't know anybody, I think you're out of luck. So this is the key, that the system that we have developed. We've developed a system whereby it is all who you know and not necessarily what you know. And do you really know? I guess that is the question. There's going to be lots of more seismic tremors, perhaps earthquakes. There's going to be perhaps electrical disruptions, definitely storm activities, lightning, thunder, high winds, because this is Gemini, which could be very destructive. We can have blackouts, internet surges, pulsing electrical. So back up your systems. And I would suggest, actually, if you're going to bed at night, I would suggest you actually shut your computers off. Um, we could see disruptions in breakdowns in agreements that were in place and now are breaking down, as we see with the United States and Iran already. And this is a really revolutionary energy where the population is not happy, and new conversations and a new way of thinking needs to take place. We need to create the balance, and there needs to be a counterweight to it. So as Jupiter begins to move to oppose Pluto exact on July 20th, we could really feel that the world is a bit out of control and that there is a lot of resistance, even though Jupiter in Leo is going to align with this fire energy of Saturn and Neptune, which definitely is bringing new ideology and new ideas to how we conduct business and how government interacts with the individual. The old system is breaking down. The old system isn't working. And you're going to find that people now are going to stand up for what they believe in and their own sovereign rights. So, as I'm sure if you listen to other astrologers, they're going to start telling you the same thing. We're on a different train track. We're moving in a different direction. And this, of course, is also a good thing because we have the magic trine coming into effect in July as well. But this full moon is definitely going to trigger a lot of activities and a lot of review. Who are you connected with? Who is your tribe? Who are you part of? What are you part of? And do you want to be part of it any longer? So here is the Nine of Pentacles, which is a really good card in terms of those new ideas, that new energy that can come about and be very, very inspirational. We have the concerns, of course, with our stability. Are you holding on too tightly? Are you not functioning properly? And is there a lot of fear? Because this is a fear-based card. This can connect to that previous Nine of Pentacles that says, well, I've got this idea that I'm too scared. I'm too fearful to let go and spend the money in case I lose everything. So is anybody supporting you? Who do you want to get into this little adventure of yours? It doesn't look like a lot of people have a lot of support for you. And that either they're disinterested or they have their own things going on. This moon represents that we have to really address the spiritual side of ourselves. We're really in the third dimension here, and we really have to sit down with ourselves and really focus on the spiritual side. And like the church kept us in line with the morals, ethics that balance us out. Now it seems we're moving towards individual balancing of our own spirituality. So we need to be conscious and we need to not get swept away in thought processes that are not conducive for who we really are. So I want you to just look up from your phone every once in a while and really stop following what you're being told because it's not necessarily the truth. And it's up to you to figure it out. So take the time to do that. We can be really scattered to some degree here, thrown out of balance. We need the counterweight to pull us back into this center place. And we're never really centered because the pole fell. So we're always struggling to get back into some sort of sense of balance and bring it back into. So in this full moon, take the time to figure out, are you in balance? Are you listening and following what you're being told? Or are you going to break free from it? Are you going to think on your own 2 feet? Figure it out for yourself. Is this what you really wanted? Or is this something you've been told you want? Anyway, it's a little food for thought. I'll catch you in my next video talking about probably this Mercury retrograde, as they're all a little bit dysfunctional. Okay, guys, chat later. Bye bye.